Oh, I forgot to talk about my acceptance. Okay, so, sorry, it's gonna be a few minutes longer. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time if you're new. Thanks for stopping by. Today I want to do an overview of the Disney College Program application process and really go through my experience and any tips that I think might be helpful for you guys as you apply too. I'm going to go through all three parts of the process, which is the application itself, the web-based interview, and then the phone interview. So I'll break those down for you guys and tell you my experience. And I know I watched so many of these videos when I was applying just because you don't really know what's happening unless you know someone who's done it before. There's no real, like, it's just hard to know what's happening until it's happening. So I felt like watching these videos always really helped me, so I hope that I can help you guys a little bit too. So like I've said in past videos, I am doing the fall 2018 college program. So my application process went on during the beginning of 2018. So it started in January, and I think we could have found out whether or not we were accepted all the way until April. So with that, let's jump right into the application. So the application is the first part of the process. It came out for me on January 22nd, 2018, which was a Monday. Unfortunately, I was at my internship all day. I knew this was gonna happen. I knew it was gonna come out on a Monday, and I was gonna be at my internship, and I wasn't gonna be able to apply right away, and it was gonna really stress me out, and that's exactly what happened. So I was at work all day, and then I actually had class right after work until 9 p.m. And so the entire time I was in class though, I was just like, oh my god, I want to apply. So I went down to, so after class, I went back to my apartment and filled out the application the first day it came out. And I really suggest filling out the application as soon as possible when it comes out. You don't get priority or anything when you apply the first day, but there's just a chance that your application could be processed faster, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as well, with the phone interview and everything. So I applied the first day, and basically the application is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You put in your basic information, where you go to school, previous work experience, things like that, and then you also rank all of the possible roles for the Disney College program based on your preference. So it goes from no interest, low interest, moderate interest, and high interest. I highly suggest taking a few minutes before you apply, in the weeks as you're waiting for the application to come out, to look over all of the different roles that you can possibly get while on the program. They're listed on the Disney College Program website, and if you click on them, they all have little descriptions. And for me, that was really helpful because some of them, like, you think you know exactly what it's gonna entail, but then maybe there's like one or two extra things that like you didn't know that was considered under like attractions or under whatever role. So I highly suggest going through all the roles and seeing what you're actually interested in. And then for me, I only put no interest on one thing. A lot of people say, like, don't put no interest on anything because it'll hurt your chances of getting in the program, and I've also heard that's not true. So for me, I only put no interest on one thing because that was the one thing that I would have turned down my program if I had gotten it. Everything else I was willing to do and happy to do, and would have been excited if I got it. So I think it's really just about being honest with yourself and like, what do you actually want to do for the next 4 or 5 months while you're on your program? Because if you don't like the job you're doing, you're gonna have a hard time having fun on the program and just keeping your head up. So I only put no interest for custodial because I was like, I just can't. I do not want to do that. But other than that, I would have been happy with anything. And you can get placed in roles that you put low interest in, so keep that in mind. I don't think they put you in roles you put no interest in, but low interest, you can get put in those roles. But I really just suggest looking at the roles beforehand and looking at the descriptions, and then even like I had the tab open with all the roles next to it so I could just like refer to it as I was going through my application. The application only takes about 15 minutes, especially if you know what roles you want and everything like that. It's pretty quick. You also, on the application, can put your preference of park, so Walt Disney World or in Florida or Disneyland in California. I know that was a big question for me that I feel like not a lot of people touched on in these videos when I was applying, because I was really interested in both programs. I was willing to go to California, I was willing to go to Florida, I just really wanted to do the program. So you can put your preference if you want to just apply to one or just apply to the other, or if you want to apply to both, you can say that you want to apply to both, and then if you are applying to both, you can rank which one you want to do first. So like I applied to both, but I put Walt Disney World as my preference and then Disneyland. And then with that, I went through, because the roles at Disney World and Disneyland are different, I went through and I put my preference, my interest level in all the Disney World roles and then all the Disneyland roles. So it was like quick process though. The application didn't take too long, and then like I said, I applied the first night, and then like 45 minutes to an hour later I got an email saying that I got the web-based interview, which was really exciting. So then the web-based interview is the second part of the application process, and it is really, I don't know, it was stressful for me, but like you shouldn't be stressed out about it. It's just a me thing. Don't be stressed out about the web-based interview. You have, from when you get your email saying that you got the web-based interview, you have 3 days to complete it, so just keep that in mind. It takes about 40 minutes, and each of the questions is timed, so like you only have like a few, like however many seconds to answer each question. It's not just like the whole thing is timed, like each question is timed. And with that, don't freak out if you don't answer a question or two. Like if time runs out on a question, like don't freak out, because I just like got tripped up and ended up not being able to answer 2 of them, and I still got in. So don't freak out. Don't let like missing one question mess you up for the rest of the application or the interview. So going more into the web-based interview, and kind of like when I got it, so like I said, I got it 45 minutes to an hour after mine, but don't freak out if you don't get your web-based interview right away, because I know people who waited a week or 2 before they got their web-based interviews. Not everyone gets it right away, and it's really based on, I know one of the Disney recruiters tweeted one time that like they couldn't push more people from accepted into the web-based interview because they didn't have any more phone interview slots like right then, but like they would have more in the coming weeks, but they just had to wait until they had more phone interview spots until they could push people from the application to the web-based interview. So don't freak out if you don't get it right away. I know so many people who got into the program who did not get their web-based interview right away, so don't freak out about that. But so the web-based interview, kind of going into what it's about, it's basically like personality questions, just asks you about you, and the number one piece of advice I can give for this is to just be yourself. Disney wants to see who you really are, and if you really are a fit for the company, don't just say what you think they want to hear. That won't help you in the long run, and it won't help them in the long run. So it's really important to just be yourself and to just not overthink what you're, like the questions. For me, I thought it was really helpful to read the questions out loud, just because I was like being timed, so I didn't have to like reread them. Sometimes when I'm stressed, I like reread things a bunch of times. So I read the questions out loud. I was in like a quiet space, which I also recommend, so you can really concentrate, especially since it's a timed thing. Be in a quiet space alone, and then I read the questions out loud, like I said, and be yourself. Don't overthink any of the questions. And then kind of going along with that is like be consistent. Like who you are is consistent, so don't like answer one thing on one question and then on the next question like kind of like backtrack on what you said on the first question, because just be who you are and like the rest will just fall into place. that is my number one piece of advice for the web-based interview. And so after doing the web-based interview, which like I said took about 40 minutes, I did mine the day after I got my the day after I did the application. So I did the application Monday night, the 22nd, and then I did my web-based interview Tuesday during the day because my roommates were all like at work or in class on Tuesdays, so I knew that I had the apartment to myself. I did my web-based interview that day in the morning. It took like 40 minutes, and then once you hit submit on the web-based interview, it immediately tells you whether or not you get a phone-based interview, which is kind of stressful. But so I hit submit, I got the phone interview, yay! And then you schedule your phone interview right away. So, or I think they send you an email to schedule your phone interview right away, but then you have up to 3 days, I think, to schedule the phone interview. And then after you schedule the phone interview, so I scheduled mine for a week later, the next Tuesday, because like I said, I knew my roommates wouldn't be in the apartment. I would have like the whole place to myself for the morning, so I could just kind of like get up, get into things, do my own thing, and be ready for my interview. So pick a time that's good for you. They had a whole bunch of time slots, so that shouldn't be a problem. But so moving in from the web-based interview to the phone interview, the phone interview is definitely the most, I don't know, it stressed me out the most, I think, just because it's like the make or break moment, you know? Probably not, that's probably a lie. But so the phone interview, like I said, you sign up for a time slot after your web-based interview. I did it the next Tuesday, and they can call you anytime. Mine was at 11:30. They can call you anytime 15 minutes before or 15 minutes after your time slot. So for that like entire 15 minutes before, I was just like a hot mess. I was just like, oh my god, it's gonna happen, oh my god. And then it didn't happen until like right after 11, I think it was like 11:31 or 11:32. But they can call you, so make sure you put that into your schedule as well. Like it can be 13 minutes or 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after. And also it takes about, I think they say like 15 to 20 minutes. I know some people who was like 10 minutes. Mine was 20 minutes, like a full 20 minutes. And then I don't know of people who are much longer than that, maybe 30 minutes like max, but it shouldn't be longer than that because they have so many other people to interview as well. So like they're on a time schedule and you're on a time schedule, so just keep that in mind. So some tips for the phone interview. I highly suggest looking up possible questions that are on the phone interview. I just looked at like these huge lists of just like normal interview questions and just like things like that. But it just really helped me to like prepare myself to just see like what was possibly going to happen. And then also think about what like you already put on your application, like what your top roles are and things like that. But really think about what you want to do, because like my interviewer asked me about like what my top roles were and why I was qualified for those roles. So just think about what you want to do while you're on your program. And also your phone interview is the one time that you can like request a park or request a location, so also keep that in mind. I did not request a park or location on my phone interview, but I know people who did and were placed in that park or location. So just think about what you want to do while you're on the program and have that in mind going in. Have possible interview questions, and always remember to ask questions to your interviewer at the end of the interview. I wrote down my interviewer's name as soon as she answered the phone, just so like at the end I could thank her and use her name. Don't forget to thank your interviewer. Going out with that, don't forget to thank your interviewer at the end of the interview. And then but some pre-interview tips. That was kind of like the actual interview, but some pre-interview tips. I thought it was really helpful to dress up like I was going to a real in-person interview. I put on like a dress that I would have worn to an in-person interview, and I think it was like the winter, so I like put on tights and boots, just like I would have if I was going somewhere else to actually interview. I did my makeup and I did my hair because it just helped me get into like the headspace of like, okay, I'm doing an interview, instead of just like rolling out of bed and being in my pajamas and just like feeling more laid back and casual. Putting on a nice outfit and doing my makeup and my hair really helped me to get into the right headspace. Something else that I've gotten that I got from videos like this and other like blogs and things is writing notes to yourself and putting them like around your interview area. So like I had my resume next to me, and I had just like some positive affirmations, just like chill out, you're gonna be fine, and like smile and things like that, because I have heard that like I tried to do this during my interview, but a smile really shows in your voice, and so trying to smile throughout your whole interview. Remember, you're interviewing for the Walt Disney Company, so smiling is definitely, I mean, necessary, but smiling is definitely a plus in all situations, so it can't hurt to just smile through your interview so that they can really hear your enthusiasm on the phone. But kind of going along with that, don't be like fake, just be yourself, but smiling really helped me to just kind of like be myself and just kind of like keep that like light mood throughout the interview. But going back to like setting up for the interview, in addition to like little notes and like my resume and things that I had next to me, I also just like put a list of my top roles in case I forgot, because I was like, I don't want to get nervous and like freeze up and forget what roles I want to do. So I like had a list of roles, and then I also like just like put some little like Disney stuff that I have like out around the table, just to like remind myself that I was interviewing for Disney and that like this has been my dream, so to just remind me of that. And then before my interview, I also got this tip from somewhere else, but I just listened to Disney music to while I was waiting for those first 15 minutes that they could have called. I was just listening to Disney music to get me in the mood and to also just like calm me, because I knew that it was just gonna be a stressful 15 minutes, and if I was just sitting there by myself, I would have been like, it would have been bad. So listening to some Disney music and just kind of like having everything out and prepared. I chose 11:30 because I knew that like I could get up, eat breakfast, and like have way more than enough time to get ready and do everything and lay everything out. I wouldn't be rushed at all, so I highly suggest picking a time where like you can do that for yourself so you don't feel rushed going into the interview and you can really show off your best self. Oh my god, this video is almost 20 minutes long already. Okay, so I'm gonna close it up now. I just want to say the number one thing to remember: be yourself on the application, the web-based interview, the phone interview. It's important to be yourself, and remember that everyone is rooting for you to do well. Your interviewer is rooting for you to do well, and so is everyone else. And if you need any support, I definitely recommend going on the Facebook pages, because there's people there. I know that was like a huge help for me through the whole application process. It's just like seeing people going through the same things you are. But I hope this video helped you, and I hope that it gave a little bit of insight into the application process for the Disney College program. And yeah, I'm sorry this video was so long, and oh, I forgot to talk about my acceptance. Okay, so sorry, it's gonna be a few minutes longer. So like I said, I got my phone interview the Tuesday after my application process. I think it was like the 30th, January 30th-ish, and then I found out 2 weeks later. I also found out on a Tuesday. I found out 2 weeks later on February 13th at around 2:30 that I was accepted into the Disney College program for Walt Disney World in Florida, and for fall 2018. And I was so excited. Again though, I highly recommend going on the Facebook pages for support, because you find out, and following the recruiters on Twitter, because you find out when acceptance waves are coming, and when just like everything's happening, and when people actually started to get acceptances for things. I remember this year they did it like they were sending out acceptances for roles in role alphabetical order. So it was like attractions and then like all the other roles, and then the one day they did like reverse alphabetical order, so it was like water sport, I don't remember what it's called. But it was just like really stressful to be like, oh my gosh, what if I get this role, what if I'm next, what if I'm next, and then I never was until I was. But I got in on, like I said, the Tuesday, February 13th, which was part of the first big wave of acceptances. And the first big wave was the Monday, the 12th, but that was mostly Fall Advantage. Like I've said in a previous video, that was mostly Fall Advantage, and then my day was mostly fall. So I was part of that big first wave. But again, don't worry if you're not part of the first wave. I know of people who hadn't even gotten out of accepted at that point, but then got into the program. So don't freak out. Everything will work out. Just remember to be yourselves and have fun during the application process. Yeah. My camera just stopped recording in the middle of my goodbye. So rude. Okay, so with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video offered a little bit of insight into the Disney College Program application process, and I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share. See you next time. Bye!